plain because you're getting two actual shows this week. So there you
So
go.
boom.
This is USFanTV. We have things to talk about in the soccer world as it relates to the United States. We should tell you before we start that I am Pat and he
That means
is
I am
Chris.
Chris.
You have to let me say that you're Chris before you tell me you're
Nope.
Chris.
Nope. I
You can't
see.
jump the
You want
gun.
things to go faster. I was trying to speed things up.
Yes, we're late because I have a sick kid who's very sad, and I thought he was asleep, and then he wasn't, and then I thought he was asleep, and then he wasn't. So we're gonna do this quick, and then I'm gonna go do that, which is way more important than this. But we have stuff to talk
Says
about,
you.
and the first thing we have to talk about uh, is Christian Pulisic is your men's national team player of the year by
Oh,
a
the year.
wide margin, but not a wide enough margin. He got 94% of the vote, which if you are among the 6% that did not vote for him as the best player on the men's side this year, you don't deserve to vote anymore. And I suspect that it was Garber or somebody from the MLS contingent that couldn't stand voting for a kid who went to Europe and instead wanted to vote for their own
Maybe.
product, which makes you look ridiculous if it's the case. But whoever voted for somebody other than Pulisic, you're an idiot.
I'm
There's no other
convinced.
argument here.
I'm convinced the other 6% voted for Hershey Messi.
Or
My
something
girlfriend
along those
said. My girlfriend said maybe it was the guy who got his nipples twisted. Josie.
Yeah. There's no other argument here. And I'm a guy who's good at making the devil's advocate argument. I'm good and I'll listen to your points of view and as a former reporter I'm open to things and I'm good at going, okay, I can see that side. There's no other argument here. There's no question who should have gotten this. And if you
Yeah.
voted for somebody else, you don't deserve to vote anymore.
There's one guy who was responsible for 11 of the 13 last goals or something like
Yeah.
that were scored. Yeah.
Christian's making a joke about TFC fans, but nobody from Toronto should have had a vote, right? I mean, I don't think Canadians should be voting for, but I mean, executives maybe tied
No
to them,
Canadians.
the players all get votes. Some former players get votes. Maybe somebody holds a grudge against Pulisic, just wanted to promote somebody else. Maybe because Dempsey tied the record or something. I can't. Some people said maybe it was Jordan Morris. I can't see another. There's nothing. There's no other
Yeah,
argument.
there's no one. He single-handedly made the team better. And
Yeah.
there's nobody since there's nobody in the last few years. Maybe you could say Mexico, Michael Bradley, but like other than that, in the last 5 years, I don't think Michael Bradley's the last player, and that was probably 5 years ago, where it was like one player just completely changed the absolute essence of the team by his very presence, made them effective, made them work, made them better. His goal records alone, like between assists and goals, like he had a hand or he basically assisted or scored almost every one of the goals we scored in the hex.
Yeah. Crew Christian is saying that maybe Kurt Larson had a vote, would have voted for Josie or Bradley. He probably would have, but again, as a Canadian-based newspaper reporter, I would think he would not have a vote in the American Player of the Year. But maybe I'm wrong on that. If somebody knows
I don't know.
the answer on that, if somebody could tell me, I couldn't find any information because they're not the most transparent folks at US Soccer, as we're going to talk about later. But yeah, I don't know who voted for the others, but that's what I like about like Ballon d'Or voting. You get to see the crazy people who voted for somebody other than Messi or Ronaldo or Neymar. Somebody voted the crazy. I love seeing the crazy votes and who they came from. I wish there was a little more transparency here, because I'd like to know what were you thinking.
Certainly interesting.
Yeah. Also in good news for 19-year-olds who play in the Bundesliga, Build Sport, one of those publications, did a big write-up on Weston McKennie, which is pretty cool. When German media outlets are covering a guy more than
Yeah.
Americans,
Yeah. Think about that.
not the coolest thing, but
Like Planet Football on SI is about the only place in the States where you could probably find something consistently on Weston McKennie. and here's like a full blown article on him.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, and Sonder, we did see Dortmund won the other day, which is good. So hopefully that gets them
Finally,
back
yeah.
on track for the rest of the season, and hopefully, because I mean, to be Christian Pulisic, you've had a lot of individual success, but from a team standpoint, with both the national team and with Dortmund over the last couple of months, it has to have sucked pretty bad. Just to it's loss after loss after loss, and angry fans from both teams, and it hasn't, I'm sure, been fun. Um, By the way, if you want a Christian Pulisic jersey and you want it sent from the Dortmund team store, they're offering uh, free express shipping to the U.S. Got the email,
Hmm.
so there you go.
I'll
Um,
have to see if my girlfriend's watching our show.
you hear that, Lori? You know what to do. Um, yeah, so good news for Pulisic, good news for Weston McKennie. There was another thing. We'll talk about the U.S. presidential race in a minute, but there was another thing that I thought was interesting. I don't usually read Deadspin anymore because it kind of sucks,
Yeah.
but they do some decent soccer writing from time to time, and they were writing about a Brian Sciaretta interview with Josh Sargent, where Josh basically talked about why he decided to go to Germany rather than play MLS. And he's like, look, it'd be cool to play in MLS. It's close to home. I get to be near my friends and family and everything, but um, I wanted playing time.
Yeah.
In the Deadspin piece, and I don't have the author's name written down, but I put it up on our Twitter, US Fan TV on Twitter. It's a great piece, and it points out basically, yeah, think about that. He has to go to one of the best leagues in the world to get playing time, or at least he assumes, because MLS doesn't play teenagers hardly ever, except Tyler Adams and Jordy from the Fire. I mean, that's the only two.
Tyler Adams, who could be on his way to
Yeah,
Europe soon.
those are the only two teens I can think of playing in MLS right now. I could be wrong. There could be somebody else, but there's as many teens playing in MLS then as there are in the Bundesliga, American teens. And there's, countless other teenagers playing it for other teams in the Bundesliga. So, um, why?
Yeah, it's nuts.
Why?
I mean, when we talked about Pulisic's comments a few weeks ago or a month ago, whatever it was now, about how it's unfair that like UEFA bars anyone who isn't an EU who doesn't have an EU passport from excuse me from being able to come over and play until they're 18. On the one hand, it's true. It is kind of nuts that say guys in the US can't get there until they're 18. On the other hand, that really helps MLS, and they're not taking advantage of it. I mean, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot on it because one, you could be building these kids so that you make more money when they go away, or if they go away, or two, you could be building them and they decide, you know what, I'm starring, I'm playing, it's awesome, it's got me on the national team, whatever, it's getting me attention, I'm making money, I'm going to stay. And that whole, I mean, it's another step in the kind of lost pipeline that the U.S. doesn't have.
Some people have argued that if we had pro rel, teams would be more motivated to try to find youth stars and play them. And I don't know that to be the case, but I don't know it's not the case either. Like I don't see why a league that is I don't know, it's still growing in some ways, but it's struggling in others, especially with TV ratings. Although a lot of people don't watch sports on TV anymore. They watch it on stream or on delay or on a lot of different ways on clips on Twitter. But you would think a league like MLS would want to put a priority on developing and then marketing some of its young stars, but they like to market the aging veterans who come back or come over from Europe. They it's just what they do. It's what they believe sells, and so there's that's Soccer United marketing for you. Um, but yeah, that's what they believe works, and they don't believe that youth stars work. But the biggest star going, and probably soon to be the second biggest star for the men's national team, are both teenagers playing in a bigger league. So maybe think about
Yeah, I
making it a
mean,
priority,
it's
guys.
nuts that guys can go to a better league and get playing time, and in this league they can't.
Yeah, I
In
mean
their
it.
own domestic league, their own and in their own country, they can't get playing time, but they can go overseas to a far superior league,
It's easily top
make more
three in the
money,
world. Yeah,
and yeah, make more money and get playing time.
you could argue. I mean, what can you even argue? Maybe England's better. And they all have things that are better and things that aren't better. But
Yeah, I mean,
I
all
love
the
the
top
Bundesliga.
four, I think,
It's
go back and forth. But in
yeah,
terms of like the best place for, I think, young players, and
yeah.
I kind of have to admit, the best place probably for fans, I think, is Germany.
And where do we put MLS on that list? I don't even below the English
Maybe
Championship.
top 10.
Below is it below the Dutch league? I think it probably is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it may be. I mean, it's one league plays its youth and the other doesn't. So, and that's a knock on the Premier League too. They don't play youth players a ton there, but it's the freaking Premier League. It's not
Yeah.
MLS. I mean, MLS doesn't have an excuse. At least the Premier League goes, well, we have all these atrociously expensive players to play. Um, yeah, so I found that whole thing interesting and just it's a stunning indictment of MLS and where they are right now as far as youth development. And this is one of the problems. If our guys can't get a passport to play in Germany and they can't play here because our league doesn't play them, they don't develop.
Yeah.
And we lose a bunch of guys in that bracket.
Or their best
So
chance is to go to Mexico.
there's
And then
another,
we start getting
yes.
into the other thing. Another thing I was going to bring up
Yeah,
tonight,
I don't
the
have that on the
Jonathan
list, but we need
Gonzalez
to talk
issue.
about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, Jonathan Gonzalez just being kind of the most famous right now, but there are countless other guys who, the teams have battled, our nations have battled back and forth over because, hey, they started to look good in Liga MX, and then, yeah, well, you sure you don't want to play for our national team? And our track record with guys who can go back and forth isn't the greatest.
People are debating the. By the way, I wouldn't if I were him, unless I felt really strongly about playing for the U.S. If I felt on the fence and I had a chance to go to the 2018 World Cup with Mexico, who's clearly a better team right now, and one that I would also probably start for, I'm going.
Yeah,
I'm
I,
going. And I hate
I,
to say that, but I would.
yeah, I've never liked Rossi for his choice of Italy over the U.S. But maybe I've matured in my opinions on it.
Right. Yeah, I
If
feel the
Jonathan
same way.
Gonzalez chooses Mexico, I can't fault him. I'm not going to be happy about it in the least. I'm going to be pissed off. To me, it's just another mistake that another failure of our World Cup cycle, of our qualification cycle, our qualification failure.
By the way,
This is just an echo of that failure then. And apparently he's pissed off that he didn't get called up in November. And now rumors, if you believe the SBI article on it, rumors are within U.S. Soccer they didn't feel like he was ready. Are you kidding me? How is he not
yeah,
ready?
right. We had a
I'm sorry.
non-professional on the team.
He started in a Liga MX final for one of the championship teams or final teams, excuse me. And he's not qualified to play for the U.S.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Even just in a friendly. Like he's playing on a better team and starting and playing well.
I'm hearing my son crying, so I better start wrapping up here. It's going to be a quick show tonight, guys. By the way, for the people arguing with the best league in the world it's not La Liga. The best two teams, the top at the top end, it's maybe La Liga.
Yeah.
The best two or three, but top to bottom, it's the EPL for me. They put 5 teams in the final 16 of the Champions League. My favorite to watch is the Bundesliga. The most competitive top to bottom, the one where the lower team can beat the top team any week, except for maybe Man City, the Premier League for me. And then La Liga has 2 really awesome teams and one really, really good team underneath them. And that's the bottom of La Liga.
Same with Italy.
So yeah,
essentially the same with Italy. France is almost a 1-team league at this point. Monaco is not nearly as good as they were. Whatever. Yeah, if we're trying to save time here, I'm not going to get into like my
Yeah.
choices of the top 10. I also won't get into. I'm thinking next week we need to name the U.S. Soccer Holiday Songbook, and I'm putting the song I sent to you earlier in there. Cartman singing Poker Face.
Diego says Liga MX is the top. I don't know about that, but it's really entertaining. Not the best league, but it's awesome to watch on TV. Um, you're pulling a Judy.
You can tell I still am trying to get over a cold. It's been like 2 weeks now.
Good job, Judy. All right, it's only he and I will know what that means. And finally, tonight, 8 of the 9 people running for USSF president apparently got the 3 necessary nominations to continue. So now USSF is going through and doing the background checks on everybody, which presumably, if Hope did get the 3, she is not going to pass the background check. But I don't know what they consider to be a failure in a background check. So, I mean, and I don't know why you have to wait until after this process gets to this point to even start doing the background checks. Maybe you could have done them ahead of time and then we would know who these people are. But yeah, so we still don't know who the 8 of the 9 are. There's been some speculation that Hope didn't get hers. There's, speculation about some of the other guys, but I think certainly Kathy Carter, Kyle Martino, Brian, Eric Winalda, Steve Gans, some of the people that you've been hearing about for a long time are definitely probably in. So unless something kicks up in those backgrounds. And then also with that, I think the bigger news, we've talked about the possibility of a GM role for U.S. soccer for a while here. And we think it's a good idea generally to have a person who's in charge of the soccer and then the president be just in charge of the board and oversee the whole thing. Apparently they talked about that at their meeting in Toronto, which I still find funny that I know why they were in Toronto, but I still find it funny they were meeting on foreign soil to talk about United States soccer stuff. They talked about apparently maybe setting the stage for that, which to me speaks to they really want Kathy Carter to be the president. And so they want to take away the argument against her, the soccer argument, by making somebody the soccer guy. Maybe you offer it to one of the guys like Winalda who's running, or maybe you hire somebody on your own. But it's a good idea that if they're going to implement should happen after the presidential race is over, not now, because now
Kathy Carter. Ooh, shit, Kathy Carter.
The only good thing about her would be that we would get to sing that song.
If she gets voted in, that joins the USFanTV
yes
song list.
Shit. Yeah. So there it is. I think it's a good idea, but it's not the time. We wait till after February 10th. And by the way, the other thing that came out, we didn't talk about it a lot in the last show, but Steve Gans, the only guy who was running back before we failed to qualify, along with Sunil, I guess, called for it, and U.S. Soccer agreed to some oversight into the election, which is like independent oversight, which is excellent because they shouldn't be handling it themselves. There should be outside people making sure that everything's on the up and up and that the rules are fair and they're not changed midway through and things like that. So good for him for calling on that. He seems like a guy who he's not a huge name, but he seems like a guy who knows what he's talking about. He seems like a fairly good attorney and a guy who I think his son is a college player, and he just seems like a guy who I'd be comfortable with him winning. I don't know that he does because maybe he's not the biggest name in the bunch, but I've liked what I've seen from him from the beginning. So then you have the guy who can't spell. I can't remember his name, but there's the other guy who just can't. You have spell check, and you're failing to spell words correctly. Like maybe I know that grammar and spelling aren't everything, but it's a sign of somebody who
his comments are equal parts entertaining and interesting.
Yeah.
Entertaining, perhaps sometimes for the wrong reasons, but like he'll make a good point, but then he'll also say something kind of crazy. And so it's a little bit like Winalda, where it's like it's kind of fun wondering what's going to happen next. Like he has a good point, and then he says something that's like, well, what could he possibly be going? Where could he be going now?
Yeah, Paula Point's their name. That's right, Christian.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Pep is a good manager, by the way. It's
A
just
little
like
bit.
Phil Jackson was a pretty good NBA coach. He sucked as a GM for the Knicks, but even though you've got the best team, you still have to be able to massage the egos and that sort of thing. And I think Pep is proving that, oh my God, like that team is, I want them to lose so that 0304 Arsenal remains the only unbeaten, but I don't think they're gonna. And they are fun to watch. Unless Kevin De Bruyne goes down or something, then maybe after the January window so they can't replace him. They're fun to watch, man. Pep's amazing. And bald. So I hold him in high esteem.
Well, and maybe soon enough he'll have Alexis Sanchez.
I am not a better manager than Pep because I coached 4 and 5 year olds. Definitely not. I'm not even good at coaching 4 and 5 year olds, but they do have fun, so that's all I really care about. Um, I think we covered it. It's a quick show tonight, but I got to go take care of the boys. So, what else? Is there anything else we did not cover tonight?
No, that was all my notes. We busted through this show tonight.
That's right. Christian knows stuff about me that nobody else knows. So yeah, we're gonna be back probably Tuesday. We'll see about next Thursday. I know we're taking off the week of between Christmas and New Year's. We've both got crazy stuff going on, and we won't be around. So unless there's giant reason to do one, I don't see us doing a show that last week. But we'll have stuff for you next week at the very least. So yeah, this is US Fan TV. We have a website that is usfantv.com. We have Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. They are US Fan TV. We do not like Snapchat, and we're not doing it. Craigslist, you know about. And if you don't, ask somebody else. And we have YouTube, but you know that because you're watching this here at this moment right now on YouTube. You're watching this.
You found us.
Subscribe, please, and tell your friends to do the same because it makes us happy when you subscribe. And then you can turn on your little your notifications, and it'll go to your phone, and it'll say Pat and Chris are live. And then if you don't normally remember to watch the show live, you get to come watch it live, and then you get to yell at us in the comments, and we make fun of you. And sometimes you make fun of us, and it's fun. So do that. Chris, do you have any final words?
No. I think thanks for everybody for coming, and you're done.
All right. Thanks to our intern, King Leipzig. Great job interning again, as usual. He's going to put that on his resume now. We'll see you next week. You're done.